Lessons. I'm instructor Dwayne Jenkins. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about how to read guitar tests. Nope, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to read guitar tabs in 5 easy lessons. Let's take a look.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, so now here we have some tablature, okay? This is just some tablature paper. It's got some tabs on it, and what we're going to do is we're going to just take a look at how to read it. But before we do, let's take a couple questions here. Actually, not questions, but we're going to ask ourselves a couple things. Number one, what are tabs? Well, tabs are just basically sheet music for guitar. That's what it is, okay? Real simple. It's like standard notation that you learn in school, but it's simpler, okay? And why should we learn how to read them? Well, they're very beneficial because if you learn how to read the written word, you're going to discover things here that you wouldn't normally discover if you're just playing by ear. Okay? Plus it allows you to learn things a little bit faster if possibly you don't have time to develop your ear, because ear training is great, but it does take a long time to develop it. And it's not so bad if you get started when you're young, but if you're getting started as an adult, you know, and you got a lot of other things going on in your mind, like your job and your family and things like that, it's really hard to learn by ear. You got to really take some time to practice to develop the ear. So this gives us a little bit of an easier way, a little quicker way of getting from 0 to 60, so to speak. A little bit faster by learning how to read some tab. Now, we're not going to go through the whole thing about tablature, everything in this lesson. It'd be way too long. But what we're going to do is I'm just going to give you some basic fundamentals of how to read this, okay? Plus they have song books that if you learn how to read tab, then you can check out those song books of your favorite songs, or you can go online and read them online, because everything online is in tablature format. So if you learn how to read this, then you can, you know, learn how to read and play your favorite songs, okay? So the first thing that we want to think about is these lines. These lines represent our guitar strings. Now up here, this is just in this piece of paper, this would be more of our staff line. This is common where you see the actual notes, you know, your quarter notes and your eighth notes and that kind of stuff, okay? We're not going to be dealing with that. We're just going to be dealing with something very simple. These lines right here, there's 6 of them, and they represent the 6 guitar strings. You know, on this particular tablature, they're numbered 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and your biggest string, the thickest one you have on your guitar, is going to be down here on the bottom, okay? So you got to remember that. You have to remember that it's kind of upside down. It represents your guitar strings, but it's upside down. I didn't write it, I didn't design it that way, just the way it is, so you just have to learn that. Remember, your 6th string is on the bottom, okay? So these 6 lines are going to represent our guitar strings. First thing, okay, number 2, we're going to be dealing with numbers. Instead of dealing with symbols like we do in standard notation, this kind of stuff here, we're not going to be dealing with that. We're going to be dealing with numbers, okay? Like for instance, 2, okay? That's going to tell us that's the 2nd fret on the 6th string. So our numbers are going to represent our frets, okay? So if that was a 2, a 4, say a 6, that's going to tell us that we're going to play the 2nd fret, the 4th fret, and the 6th fret all on the 6th string, okay? So remember, the lines represent your guitar strings upside down, and the numbers represent your frets. Not necessarily the fingers that you use, because of course you don't have 6 fingers, but the frets that you're going to be playing on, okay? Number 3. Whenever we have a 0, of course we don't have a 0, that tells us that's going to be open, okay? Which means that we're not going to be putting a finger on the fretboard. We're going to be playing that string open by itself, and it's going to be represented by a 0. So that's open, okay? So that tells us if we were playing 0, 1, 2, 3, that would be open E, and then the 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret. Okay? Real simple. Alright, number 4. The thing about tablature is it gives you a very simplified notation. You don't have any rests like you do in standard notation. You just use the frets and you got to kind of figure it out for yourself, okay? Now I've never really seen rests, but sometimes they have counts down here for timing purposes, but usually it's just the frets, okay? And when you do chords, like for instance, if we were going to do a power chord, a 2 and a 4, that right there is going to give us, that would be an F sharp, because that's an F sharp note there on the 6th string, 2, and then we'd have a string on the 4th fret, 5th string, a finger on the 2nd fret, 6th string. We play those together, so that tells us whenever you have the notes stacked on top of each other like that, that means you play them together. If they're at an angle like this, that means you play them individually, okay? That's the difference. These are played together, these are played individually, okay? And our fifth step of learning this is the fact that, once again, it's a simplified form of playing songs, okay? Now, sometimes you might have some numbers down here, like this, that gives you a count, okay? So let's say this was a 2, 4, 6, 8. That would be like the beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be your count. And this number's up here would be the frets that you're playing on the 6th string. Now if you were on, say, the 5th string or the 4th string, okay, that might be a little bit different. Like for instance, let's say we were going to play this song right here. This is Iron Man riff, 2, 5, 5, 7, 7. And you can see I have the 7s a little closer together there. And you'd have the 4 here, 7, 7, 9, 9, because that's your power chords. Okay, so it'd be like da, na, 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 na. Okay. Now, of course, there's no rest or anything in there, so it's just very simplified. Okay. And a lot of times with tab, it helps to listen to the song so you can get the rhythm down. So that's the thing about tablature. It's kind of simplified. You're not getting all the key signature and the rhythms, necessarily notation with the rests and all that stuff. You're just getting it very simplified. So if you're playing a song, my recommendation is to listen to the song and follow along with the tabs, okay? So once again, those 5 ways of doing that. And then there's all kinds of other things too. Like for instance, if you have a note, let's say you have a note here, and then you have a line up, that means that you bend that. If you have a note here, and then you have an arc in between, that means that you're going to do a hammer on. This would be a pull off, and that's for, you know, future stuff later down the line. But I just wanted to show you how that works. Okay, if you were going to vibrate a note, let's say you're going to vibrate this note here. You have a little squiggly line up there, as you can see. That kind of tells us that you're vibrating that note. So this note's being bent up. I know it seems like it'd be bent down. Just the way it's written, it's kind of crazy, so you just got to kind of understand it. And once you work with it enough, you'll figure it out. It'll all make sense. And this would be a hammer on because you're increasing the note. This would be a pull off, you're taking the note away. And this would mean that you would strike the note and vibrate it. Okay, and these are just a couple of the things that you can do with tab. But I would highly recommend learning how to read tablature. Okay, if you're good at playing by ear, that's super. If you learn how to do this, it's just going to make you that much better. Okay, so there we have it. 5 steps on how to read guitar tabs. Real simple. Like I said, I would highly recommend that you learn how to read guitar tabs. Even if you're good at playing by ear, learn how to read sheet music, okay? Standard notation is a lot harder, so if you want to start with that, you're more than welcome to. I would recommend starting off with some tabs, okay? And get some good tab books. A lot of the stuff on the internet's it's kind of okay, not the greatest in my opinion, but you know, song books like tab books. Let me see, I've got some here. Let's see, here's one right here. Just got a random. This is Led Zeppelin, Houses of Holy. You can see that. This is a great book. It's written in standard notation in tablature, but it has all the songs in there that go to the album. You know, you can look it up. It gives you some notes, liner notes. It gives you all the stuff you need for the songs, you know, and it makes learning the song really enjoyable. In case you run into a problem like, you know, a bridge or an intro, or especially solos, you know, if you want to do solos by ear, that's fine, or you want to watch somebody online do it, but it's a little bit difficult to do that sometimes. But You know, it doesn't really matter. If you're good at watching video, that's great. I'd recommend doing that. But also work on the written word. It's very important because music, when you interpret it, it interprets, when you're learning something, it doesn't really matter if it's music or anything else. The way we interpret it is different in every format we learn it in. For instance, when we watch a video like this, that gives us a different interpretation through our eyes than if we just listen to the music. You know, that gives us a little different interpretation. And then reading the written word gives us a little different interpretation as well. So if you kind of work with all three of those, then you really start to get good, okay? So once again, 5 reasons or 5 steps on learning tabs. Number 1, the lines represent your guitar strings. Now remember, it's upside down, okay? So this biggest string is gonna be on the bottom of the tablature. I know it's confusing, you know, it's ridiculous if you ask me, but hey, that's the way it is, so we just gotta learn it, okay? They're not gonna change it for us, although I think they should, but you know. Anyway, it would make it so much easier to read if they did that, you know what I mean? So whoever designed that, geez. Anyway, so we got that. Lines represent the guitar strings. We gotta remember this one's on the bottom on the tabs, okay? Our numbers represent the frets, like I was showing you on that paper, 2 and 4, okay? So one finger on the 2, other finger on the 4, right there, okay? And what I love about these kind of chords is you just move them up and down the fretboard, okay? 0 represents open, so if you're playing open, you know, that means that you're playing the string open, you know? Okay, those would all be open, okay? Zeros, all right? Number 4, it's a very simplified form of sheet music. It doesn't have the rest. There's a lot of things in there it doesn't tell you, so it's a little bit different than the standard notation, but it can still get you going. And of course, number 5, it's an easy way to get you started, okay? So once you learn how to do that, then you can move on to standard notation is what would be what I would recommend, okay? But if you want to start with standard notation, you're more than happy to do that. You're going to find that if you're an adult and you're just starting out learning, you're going to find it's very difficult. So I would recommend starting with the tabs first. Okay, I remember when I was taking guitar lessons when I was younger, we didn't have YouTube and all that stuff. You guys got all that great stuff nowadays. All I had was the guitar magazines, and they'd have some songs in there, and I couldn't figure out how to read the tabs. And I went to some teachers, and they all told me, "Oh, tabs, that's junk. You know, anybody could do that. You need to learn standard notation and music theory and stuff like that." And it's like I'm looking at the standard notation, going, "Well, you know, tabs are easier. You know, if I can't figure out how to read tabs, how the hell am I going to figure out how to read standard notation?" You know, but they didn't want to teach me tabs, so I had to kind of learn it on my own, which seems kind of ridiculous. But anyway, nowadays everything's written in tab, okay? So learn how to read some tabs, then you can go on to guitar websites that have songs, and they're all written in that format, and you can learn to play your favorite songs, all right? So once again, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel, like it. If you have anything to add to the discussion, or if you have any questions, be sure to leave me some comments below. Check out my website. I've got the link down check out the link down below the video. Go to my website. I've got all kinds of great lessons there on all kinds of great things about learning guitar. Be sure to join my guitar club. You know, hit the bell for notifications of new videos and all that good stuff. And keep practicing. Learn to read that tab like I told you. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave the comments below and I'll answer them for you. And we'll get you going on learning how to play guitar and reading the written word. Until next time, take care.